Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the sixth session. We have four more. In fact, three more to be precise. The last one is more of a revision. But in case you had any questions, do let me know. So, for example, we covered data. What is data? That is the basics of it. And then we did big data. Then you knew of the Gartner model when we dived into analytics. And we found through the teamwork that analytics is best used in marketing, but also can be used everywhere. Okay, wherever there's a data point coming up, like we saw in the last day, if it's about human capital management. So if you are a HR partner, you will get to know a lot of sensitive data. That when was the last promotion of a person? What is the gender? What is his date of birth, etc., etc. So PI and SPI, personal information as well as sensitive personal information. So a date of birth or an anniversary, these are sensitive personal information. So as a HR or L&D, maybe you know quite a bit. Now, if you use that data rightfully, then it is a good thing to happen, like we saw in the last session. So we traveled from data to big data, which is no longer a news. Now everything is big data. Once upon a time, it was a big ticket. So we talk of zottabytes, petabytes. Then we went into analytics. Then we saw treatment of analytics in operations, in marketing, and in HR. Now in HR, what is the life cycle by which you can use from talent acquisition to talent separation? That is the whole life cycle. So during recruitment, there'll be a set of metrics. Okay. For example, time to hire, or if the guy leaves. So how many people leave within the first 2 months? So that means it has been a bad recruitment. Training, I'm coming last. So training we did, obviously training hours, uh, training quality, the feedback, we treat as effectiveness of learning. So any questions up to plus we knew about the Potter model, that data is important, but data is not primarily the important. What is most important is the business question. For example, when I gave that example that how many cigarette butts are there in a big city. Now that is not important. Important is for what purpose this data will be used. Will it be used to you sensitize people that smoking is bad? Will it be used that people who are stressful smoke? Okay, so when we went through this, there were so many business questions which can be raised, and many because cigarette smoking will no longer be the same again because there's so much of anti publicity against smoking. So what I meant to say is that third step, it's a third step, it's not a first step. The first step is frame the business question. Second is, can somebody tell me what is the second point in that quarter 8 step? The second is you have to have a hypothesis. So if the hypothesis is cigarette smoking is bad for health, maybe it's proved that it's good for health. So any hypothesis to a business question must be placed next. Third stage is you gather data. Now, if you find data and if data leads to a recommendation which says that yes, smokers have a cough, smokers are getting bad health, then you can conclude and send to management that this is what I recommend. Data tells me this. So, for example, I find less young people smoking. I don't know what is your finding. So that is one example. Now in L&D, we can also use data, let's say, from acquisition. Then succession planning. How many people got promoted? What is the career velocity? So wherever there's a data, now some people progress very fast. In 10 to 12 years, they become a partner or somebody who's part of the, somebody who becomes a Malik in a way. I mean, he's a shareholder, he has a stake in the company. Whereas some people, they take 20 years to reach there or never reach there. They attain a high position. Now, so the company needs to introspect that will I let people, be like a Bande Bharat? Everybody should be Bande Bharat. Or you have a place for a Janta Express or, some other train which doesn't run as fast, Rajdhani or now Shatabdi or whatever. So your career, does it flow like that? So that is career velocity. HR analytics can be applied to training. How many people got trained? And we'll discuss that today specifically. But why I made this beginning is that do you have any questions till now? So we are nearly 50% past the syllabus. You did a quiz the last day. We had some presentations early on. The timing is a bit, 2 o'clock is a little bit of a bummer. I know it's a Sunday afternoon, difficult, but yet, for the sake of learning, in case you have any questions, let me know as well. Okay, so I'm moving on to today's stuff, which is again part of module 4. Module 4 is big, as in your book. So let me go to the slide and then maybe you'll have questions. Let me first give you some time to settle down, but then let's make it interactive today. So we are measuring L&D, okay? So like in a life cycle, I said that you measure recruitment, you measure selection. So what are the metrics that is important? When you're selecting, what could be an important metric? So for example, how many people you select vis-a-vis how many people you reject, vis-a-vis how many people you keep on hold, that if this guy doesn't take up my job, the next offer will go to the next deserving candidate. Okay. So this is important. And similarly, when I talk about compensation benefit, what could be a metric? Let's say people who are dealing with compen. What is their KRA? What would be they looking into? Okay, so think about it. For example, they look into whether my pay benchmarks with my competitor. Otherwise, that the other guy will, the employee will go away. So if I check that my band, my level, a guy gets CTC of 14 lakhs and I get 10 lakhs, likely this guy will move on. So are you offering at par? Are you offering below par? Second, okay, this is a question. Salary has how many parts? When people get a salary, if it's a salaried employee, what are the dimensions of a salary? What are the components of a salary? Any quick answer?
Mainly two parts, fixed and variable.
Very good. Thank you so much, Bhakti. So it's fixed and variable. Now in fixed, basic. Basic is linked to what, Bhakti? Just an add-on question.
Fixed will be, what you will get in hand, and
Fixed
in
is fixed with job description. Okay.
okay, okay.
So based on your job description, your basic is picked. So if I find the job description being same, somebody's basic is less or more, then compensation benefits team has to think about it. Now let's come to the variable. Like, okay, another fix is daily DNS allowance. What is DNS allowance linked to?
Inflation.
Inflation of the country. Very excellent. Okay, a big round of applause and a virtual clap for you. But basic is linked to JD. So these are two definite things. And then, I mean, I'm leaving the variable part. People could get a perk. People could go abroad. There could be many things which are not shown for commercial reasons. Companies prefer not to show as fixed more. They want to show the variable part more, especially private companies. So, like I said, in compensation benefit, there would be metrics. Similarly, in training, there would be metrics. So today we'll get into learning and development metrics, which is what we need to know. Now, these are simple metrics which all of us trainers more or less collect. That what is the training expense per employee? So can you tell me what percent of the budget will be training? Any ballpark. It is a percentage of the revenue. Revenue is the amount of business a company makes in a year, not the profit, but the business, volume of business that it does. So a good training company, a company which is training minded, will have what could be a benchmark. How much percentage of the revenue will it allocate for training? So usually 1 to 2% is very, very high. Normally it's 0.07 or something. I mean, they just do it because they have to do it. So what are the trainings they have to do? Compliance training, like, business conduct guideline for cyber security, safety, etc. So what is the training expense per employee is an important metric. Now, in IBM, if we did not spend our money, that was a problem. So the theory was use it or lose it. And similarly, this planning will now go on now that the last financial year has ended. So now people will not allow April, you will find a lean season. And let me ask you, do you find training a little slow in the first quarter of April? Many of your trainers, you go to so many places, or your company, do you find there's a little bit of slowdown right now? Or do you find that it's going on as usual?
No, no, it has to be said because there are some business needs. There are so much of this budget meets and other meets are going on in the all the organization across the industries. So
Absolutely.
certainly it has to be.
Thank you so much, Yogeshji, because I did a training on April
Yeah.
11th. And when I
Okay.
went for nominations, everybody said that, look, this is not the best time of the year. Then they said people can't be released because now it's a promotion time. Those who are promoted, they're happy. Those who are not promoted, they are unhappy. So everybody blames HR. So, it's not.
Correct.
it's, so, there's always a time when you can run fast, and that time maybe. And so, therefore, I mean, people who have been experienced, they usually avoid the first 15 days of a quarter and the last 15 days of a quarter. So, for example,
Correct.
I'll not keep any training between April 1 to 15 and June 17 to 30 because there'll be quarter closing, etc. Plus, this is a year closing. If it's an Indian company, it is from 1st April to 31st March. Now, point here is it's your luck that if you get somebody nominated, and it's also that person's luck that he or she is nominated. So, second metric is satisfaction. Okay. Now, one is spent. One is how will you measure satisfaction with training? What do we do normally? This is an easy question. How do you measure satisfaction of a trainee?
Kirkpatrick model.
Kirkpatrick is very high-fi. But that is a great answer. We do. But initially, every company will do a reaction level feedback. Not many companies will go up to all the 4 levels of Kirkpatrick, but they will definitely do. Did you like the training? What was good about it? Was the pace okay, etc., etc. Okay, Jugal Kishore.
Correct, sir. So I think in most of the organizations, or maybe for a lot of training sessions, people generally provide you a feedback form. I think nowadays it is becoming, I would say, a very, very orthodox or maybe a rudimentary, but I think this is the only first level which people generally do that. whether it is an e-learning
and they
module, whether
don't
it
do
is a
anything beyond that.
correct, absolutely. In fact, you do not get an assessment of that. Okay, if the reactioners scores is like less than 3.5 or maybe let's say 4, then what will be the next course of action? Are you going to make certain amendments in the course? Are you going to change the facilitation style, delivery style? No, you are not going to get that.
Absolutely. Bang on. So I just wanted to highlight this. Though Kirkpatrick is there in the books, but people normally will go up to level 1, a reaction level, whether the guy liked it, and be done with it. One company, I did a training on April 11th. It was on positive attitude. So there was 11 companies, of which Tata Power was one. So that person said, will you do a pre-test and a post-test? I said, I didn't plan to, because there are 11 companies and not many people will be on the same page. But if you want, we will do. So, that helps. So at least they're going up to L2. That is what the guy knew before the training. Same test you're again administering at 5:30, which you did at 9:30. And then he gives all the right answers because many of them are from factory. So we did in a place called Haldia, which is 3 hours from Calcutta, 3.5. So it's an industrial belt. There's a refinery, there's Indian Oil, there's Tata Power, there's a cement company, then there's a Lal Baba Engineering. Okay, not getting into the specifics, but I luckily found that I remembered my Tata days that yes, in TMDC we used to have a pre-test and post-test. So Tata usually will go up to L2. Okay, and L3 and L4 are far-fetched. I will come to that also, which Kirkpatrick or uh, Jack Phillip wants us to. Training hours for full-time employee. Okay, one more thing which is tracked is how much do you spend on an external vendor? Many companies do not have a in-house training facility. They don't have internal trainers. So they hire vendors. Now in IBM, vendors were hired when we didn't have the competency. Why do you hire a vendor? For example, SAP. Possibly SAP will give a better training, though there are many IBM guys who are masters in SAP, but yet there might be a software like Navision or Napster. So there's a custom software which only that party will know. Or there's something where you don't want your internal guys. For example, you are doing a leadership course. So we used to have a K&R master class. So there used to be consultants who used to come in. They used to add a different flavor to that course. So that was very, very important because if you see your own leaders taking a course and what happens then? Everybody is known. He'll pick up one person. Oh, you're here. It's so good to see you. Can you? So, they start compromising on the quality. Whereas an unknown guy, he will go through all the tick boxes that this is what I need to do. So sometimes it's good to have outsiders because maybe they'll take money, but they'll do a professional job if the party is good. I am saying of a behavioral or a leadership or a strategic training. And of course, technical training. If you don't have the caliber or the, mastery over the subject, it's best given to the party who can do it. And finally, L&D costs per full-time employee. So these are what HR or L&D would measure. There will be many other measures. How many hours of training, satisfaction we said, quality. So people will say that, this is the quality of training we had, etc. So what I meant to say is that there'll be many metrics. Now I come to the spin part of it. So this is what you are measuring. But what the business leaders want, they are not interested in these metrics. Okay, you trained so many people, good. You kept your job you saved your job. How can we increase application of new skills on the job? So if you typically ask a boss, very good. I heard the training went very well. People were very gung ho about it. Well, Rahul, can you do this? The guys who's been trained can. So he'll ask totally a question which will put you off guard because that may not have been your objective, of the training. So it's important to know during the training needs analysis that why is the training being done. Many a times we do, okay, communication skills. I'll do WAC model, I will do this model, listening, speaking, maybe put it a record on the video. But why are you teaching him communicating? If the guy will go to if it's a seller's training, he needs to know how to sell. If the guy is going to be a trainer, he needs to go through a train the trainer. So can you put him on the job? Now, many companies usually have for example, Aditya Vikram Birla, okay, ABG Group. They are trying to scale up very much, trying to become like an MNC. And I mean, I do not know whether anybody of you are from here, ABG, but I have seen that they try to customize their training programs and they try to talk the language of business, which is very good. Now, when it's about results, so application is, can the new guys get onto a new job? Results is, okay, you did great training. Now, for example, the other day when we were having this training, one guy asked that, okay, employee engagement morale is very good. What is the business outcome of such an engagement? If people are very engaged, I will say that they'll do more events, they'll, gel well, they'll do parties. But what does it mean? Does it increase my top line? Then one sensible guy said, no, sir, it doesn't increase the top line, it decreases the bottom line. So maybe I can do a savings, I can do a good quality job by having employee engagement. We are a better team, so we have transparency. But that may not lead to unless you can prove that because you gave a great training, so the guy sold more, and therefore your profits went up. And finally, what will be the ROI on the learning investment? So people put in money. The moment money is put in, be sure that somebody will ask this question, what is the value that I am getting? Okay. Any questions? And these two, why I mentioned about these two slides, these two are at a variance. So what we do at L&D is we please ourselves that we have done a lot of good work. I have trained all the geographies, they're good. Feedback is rocking. We spent little on vendors, we saved money. Now, business guys want to know something else. And their questions would be immediate because they have to immediately get new business. So there, and here there's a dichotomy. Training is a cycle. It takes a little bit of time. Business leaders are impatient. They will not wait for the training time. They will want results immediately. Now, somewhere as an HR guy, you'll have to balance this speed of, expectation. And then we do the training stages. So we do a training needs analysis. Then we come to a program design. You know that this training is for this group of employees. Now, they're very basic people. They don't understand English. So you'll have to make specific instructional sheets in vernacular so that the guy understands whatever language, whether it's Marathi or Gujarati or, Tamil or Bengali or whichever language. The guy needs to understand in his language because I have seen this to be a big part. Many people are shy, they don't speak because they can't speak English. So he keeps quiet. So when you deliver, this is important, not really from a measurement point of view, that when we are designing the content, it has to be kept in mind, this is the level. Or it's a level which is very high-fi. They have gone abroad, they had global experience, they know how the world works. So for them, if you give basic stuff, they'll poo-poo. So a little bit of level setting is important. Then you deliver. If your trainer is good, he'll do a good job. I mean, this part becomes very little. If he's set up for success, he cannot fail. So if you give him a lot of pre-work, if you tell him what is the audience, if you tell him what is the expectation, if you walk him through all the slides, make him do a practice teaching, chances are the guy will be a good trainer. Even an ordinary man can be extraordinary. And then we come to the final stage, as Jugal said, that people leave at a reaction level. Once I have taken a feedback, that is the end of it. And then you say the feedback was very good, we got 9 out of 10. So you know nothing else to worry. But even in that 9 out of 10, there may have been insightful comments that this I cannot apply readily. So I'm just giving a use case. I did a one on positive attitude. So there was many companies which were manufacturing companies. And there were many companies which, two companies which were service companies. Where do you think the feedback was lesser? It was a course on positive attitude. So all of them had given feedback. Which company would possibly give a better feedback on positive attitude? A service company or a manufacturing company?
Service.
Service would give better. Okay, in this case, service gave lesser. Possibly their expectation was a little, because they're into service. So there was no wow factor there. But for manufacturing people, coming out of the factory itself is a big deal. But thank you for that answer. You gave a point of view. Yes, it depends on the situation. But service companies usually will be slightly, what is the good word? But why did you say service, Jyoti?
Um, so in service, it is more like human to human interaction. So there would be they would be judged based on their attitude and behavioral and everything. While in manufacturing, it's more like supplying manufacturing, and there is less human interaction. That is why I mentioned like that.
Okay. In fact, in manufacturing, there's more of interaction because they have to work as a team. So it's a
So
cold rolling mill,
I gave reference related to the client point of view.
client part. I got it. But thank you so much for thinking about it. You know, it's important to think that what is the guy saying. So sometimes it can be a service, it can be a manufacturing also. It's not cast in stone. So we have an ADDIE model, which I think you learned during your instructional design class. Is this already known, ADDIE?
Yes, yes, sir.
So we'll not get into this, but just to rehash, remember that this helps you in evaluation. I mean, you do a training needs analysis, you design the course, you know the mind of the customer or the client or whoever is wanting the training, then you develop the course, how many pre-course modules, how many caselets, how many slides, how many, do I do it continuous, do I do it only on Fridays, the guy comes, again he comes on next Friday. So periodicity, etc., that is part of design. Then you deliver it, then you evaluate. So I'm not getting into this. Okay, when we design, so these are the things, I mean, this is an important part. And when I come to design, there's not much of metrics you could do, but important is for whom am I doing the program? So if I'm doing it for the police, let's say, ISTD does many programs. The other day, we were doing a program on POSH. So there was a police inspector who came in. She was a lady, not a police inspector. I forget what is the designation, but she was very positive. She said, we need a training in our department. Now I know that doing it an open program and doing it specifically for the police, there would be a difference in objective. Then, for example, a policewoman and uh, a woman who's working in a corporate, posh might be a little different. So she made that point, and I really thought, okay, I knew that posh had only one objective, that people are supposed to behave themselves. So she said, yes, but we have to, physically grapple with so many people. And so we have so many female policemen. So can you do something for us? Then it set me thinking as a chairman, what can I do? I'm still thinking, but it's important to know what is the audience. leave posh. It can be any training. If it's a supervisor level, it will have a different objective. If it's an officer level, it will have a different objective. If it's a top leadership, it will have. Then what is the immediate focus? Why are you doing it? So maybe there's an immediate need. Now the need could be that the client wants it. The need could be that you are going in for a certification. Unless you show these people as train the trainer or POSH or whatever cyber security, your great place to work or anything that the company wants to show to get more brand value, that is being halted. So there are just know why is this training happening. That is a very important question for any trainer to understand. That why are they suddenly wanting this training? So either it's from the top or there's a government diktat. For example, human rights training. Do you find that there's a demand in human rights training in public sectors, and now private sectors are also doing? Now, 1 year back, I didn't think human rights was any topic for discussion. But today they're saying human rights is a topic. So can you do a train the trainer for human rights? That is why I mentioned about Aditya Birla Group, because they're doing on human rights. So as the world is evolving, the needs are changing. Needs are becoming more refined. So it will no longer be a communication training, negotiation, all this will remain. But there'll be, with AI coming in, there'll be very, very new type of training which will come in. Okay. I mean, a little bit of went off the topic. Time frame. Will you finish it in 3 days? Will you finish it in 8 hours? Will you finish it in 2 hours? Composition. Where will you do it? Physical, online. And the timing, like many companies, they have, we can do training between 2 to 6. So in ISTD, we did a training with ICICI, not ICICI, which was this bank. I forget the name of a bank. Let me just find out. So this bank said that we can only do training between, let me find this bank. We did a training. Okay, I'll remember this. I'm trying to locate. So they will only want training between 2 to 6. Do you ever have an example or a situation when people can only be free in the afternoon? They can do only at 4 to 6. Or they can do it after they go home and it's online because they don't want to waste the day on training. Have you come across such a situation?
Yes, Dr. Bose. So, in fact, in my organization, like generally we get a lean hours.
Okay.
So, in the entire ecosystem, like we have a very dedicated hours where we can pull out the agents for conducting any sort of an interventions, whether it is a TNI, whether it is a ILT, or maybe any E modules. So from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., these are the lean hours where we are pulling out the agents from the enterprise level and then conducting the interventions. Apart from that, we cannot, until and unless the WFM teams or maybe the planning team can give us a go ahead that okay, they are not observing any peak.
Excellent. I think I just needed this answer. This was for ICICI, pretty much what Jugal Kishore said, that is a lean hour. That is the time only when they can train. So it is not, what your client needs is important. You may have a time frame that 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock, but the guy might say, no, I don't have so much time. So timings are important. So then you can, tailor your need. So decide content, decide the facilitator, methodology, decide the sequence. Okay. Now when we develop content. There's a methodology and there's a timetable. Then we do a pilot testing. So we do a pilot testing and we see what is a pilot testing, that a few people sit in through the course. Okay, it is not the main crowd whom they're intended. Maybe one client, maybe the manager, the HR guy, maybe one business guy. So 5 people see the course or a part of the course being delivered. Then they'll give you a feedback. This is known as a formative evaluation. I'm coming to it in a little bit in a while. So after the pilot, it seems maybe one guy comments that, look, this is becoming a too basic. Our people already know this. So maybe put it as a pre-course. In the time that we have, we only have immersive discussion. Then one guy says, no, no, no. I think a little bit of basics brushing is good. Okay, like, old world people, they'll say, no, this is good. But new world guys, they'll say, all this is bosh. I mean, he knows all this. Or he can get it from Google. You just come to the point which he'll not know by ChatGPT or Google. So times are changing. It's important to do a pilot testing with a few people and then take a call whether I'll change my or refine my offering. So reaction learning, pretty much what we said about Kirkpatrick. So first level is reaction, learning, job application. And finally, return on investment is a thing which Jack Phillips said. Kirkpatrick stopped at 4. Jack Phillips went beyond 4 and said there is a ROI, which is very difficult to prove. There are some examples given in the book that you have, and we will discuss this a little bit more. Okay. Evaluation to assess TNA. When you assess, how can you identify a need? And this has been must have been, taught in your earlier classes. So if you have complaints, if your business goes to competitor, possibly you identify there's a need. Now, many needs are spoken by business that look, there's a need. Many needs are not spoken. You can itself guess out that, okay, there are huge customer complaints or, business is getting lost. In operations, if there's a project overrun, scope creep, team does not perform. So there are 7 keys to good operations. So operations is all about quality cycle, quality, time, and cost. So if the, anything of the 3 is becoming a problem, then maybe you might need to have a training on project management or whatever. HR, easy. People are going out, people having conflict, dysfunction, etc. So organization doesn't have time for all this. I mean, so they'll look into it and see what is the strategy. Okay, if one company is being acquired by another. So for example, in IBM, when we were in PwC, when we were being acquired by IBM, it was difficult. I had to know all the IBM terms because I am not a legacy IBMer. I was from PricewaterhouseCoopers, but like Alexander and Porras, they conquered. Like Sikandar conquered, Puru. So PwC was taken over by IBM one fine day in 2002. Then I saw, this is a very complicated organization. So many divisions, so many silos, so much global jargon. So it was, PwC had, but not to that extent. So then all the training we had to go through. So if there's a transformation or a merger or an acquisition, you have to go through. There's a need for training. And finally, if you're moving on from a COVID to a virtual, world, you will need to know new technologies. So whatever be it, and now people must know AI or at least know prompt engineering or at least have a hang of it. Otherwise, it is difficult to survive. Okay, I'm not, who should participate is not really important in this. So there are 3 levels, just suffice to say when we do a TNA, as an organization, do we need a training needs analysis? At an individual level, what do we need to know? At an occupational level, what is the KSA that I want? KSA is knowledge, skills, attitude. So I'll send this slide to you. Who should participate in it? It's a good slide, but for the moment on L&D metrics, we don't really want it. But since we spoke of training, I put it in. How to do again a cycle. So you report the findings. Okay, now here is where the metrics comes in. When you do a training needs analysis, you will usually do an interview. or I mean, whichever way you do, virtually or physically. Physically, people may not have the time. Virtually, people will give an interview, or they may say that send your questionnaire to me, I'll answer. Okay, and this is where Jyoti, where JD comes in, and JD is equal to basic salary. So JD and person specifications, critical incidents. So they'll ask, what does the guy do? Log books, industry seminars. So all these techniques are used to do a training needs analysis. Now, okay, so where I came from is that at this stage also, wherever there are numbers, you can do a L&D matrix. How many people responded to the questionnaire? Let's say you went to do a training needs analysis. You went to many leaders. Out of 10, maybe 5 had the time to care and answer your question. 5 said, well, I'm flying to Dubai or I cannot. Or the time was over. So everywhere you'll find that many people will not do. So that is a mark of how many could you do. So this is about needs. Now, when I come to training design, here are the metrics I could take. So in training needs analysis, I can take number of people whom I targeted, number of responses which I got. In design, you are doing, now this is after the pilot. What did I say during the pilot? The whole, you are not opening it up to the world. You're opening up only to subject matter experts, like written here in the slide. Customers, maybe you take a customer or a client and just ask him because he's seen the world. He might give a very insightful comment. He might say that, look, the color scheme doesn't look okay. He might say something as simple as that. Or he might say that it's a great training, but I think it's an information overload. So employees, managers, everybody, I mean, at least 5 or 7 people, they evaluate during design and development of the program, module by module. I mean, this is ideal situation. Normally, we don't do all this. IBM, we used to do quite a bit of it. I mean, anybody who's training minded will do it. Okay, what is the pedagogy? So it cannot be lecture. So in any company, any good company, they'll first give gyan. They'll give you whatever they have to. Then they'll take it back from you by an activity, whether you have understood. So what is the mix of blend objectives? And this is known as the pilot evaluation. So any metrics coming out of this will be formative evaluation. Now, when you do pilot testing, you can look at the flow, you can look at the slides, you can look at the activity vis-a-vis Gyan. So let's say why I did those, group activities with you, so that there is interactivity, so that there's peer learning. You become a red, blue, yellow team, and you also know apart from me coming in between. So that was the idea of giving an activity. Module sequencing, many people may say this should have come last, or this should have come first, or this should have come third. Okay. And of course, it affords you a mid-course correction. So you can understand that maybe somebody has given a comment. One of the, the people who are slightly in the, what would be the good word? In the Sancta Sanctorum. So when you go to Puri or any holy place, I have not been to Tirupati or any place. In Calcutta, there's a place called Kalighat. So there's a, where the goddess sits, it's an inner circuit. So you have to, either you have a VIP ticket or if it's a normal day, you go in, but there'll be a line. So there'll be these people who will give you feedback on the course, a client, somebody who knows. So he'll say, this looks to me. So these are mid-course corrections, immediately you'll have to meet. So this is a very tough job. And people who do pilot testing usually will have a better feedback than those who just make slides and just throw it at people. Plus, I have made 50 slides. Now I'll start, banging the slides one after you. Whether you understood or not is not my call. I have done my tick, 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 tick. So any good trainer, they will stop as long as people want them to. The moment they see people are sleeping, they'll say, this is it. I remember one professor in Accelera, he was great at it. He said that I will teach as long as your eyes are awake and open. The moment I see sleep, I will also sleep. I like that professor. He was a good guy. So many good guys in the world. Summative evaluation. Okay. This is pretty much what we know. You give a reaction sheet, like Indigo gives you a scan copy. So you scan your mobile and you will say that, they give so many options. How was the ground service? How was the in-flight? This, on time. So conducted after the event. So it'll about the program. Was it a good program? Was it a bad program? Was the objective met? Any benefits accruing out of it? Was the material good? Many people, they may not give a great training, but they give great material. So whenever there's a training, be on the lookout with all your six senses, okay, trying to smell everything. You'll find some good coming out of it. I remember one guy in IBM, he used to stay in Hyderabad. So just a light moment. So any of you who are from Hyderabad? Okay, not in this 16 people that we have. Nobody from Hyderabad?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Jyoti. You're polite that you responded. So this guy said, he said, Hyderabad is the best place in the world, Rahul. IBM guy. Says, what is good about, there's so many good things. Well, there's the Charminar, you have the Mozambique bakery, you have Karachi bakery, you have Hyderabadi pearls, you have Hyderabadi paradise biryani, you have Irani chai. So I said, what is bad about Hyderabad? Then he said something very funny. He said, even the worst thing in Hyderabad is the best thing in any place in the world. So then I knew that this man was total Hyderabadi. That the worst thing about Hyderabad is also the best where you would find anything. So he will just take nothing against Hyderabad. So that guy, I'll remember his name. So you are doing a summative. So you give feedback to the program and you say that I'm done with it. Now, what are the areas where participants give feedback? Important slide, progress with objective. What's the objective met? Let's say you're giving a seller training. Let's say you're giving a communication training. Let's say you're giving a software training. So can the guy code? Is he good with Java? Can he do something? Can he make an object-oriented diagram? If it's a technical course. If it's a behavior course, is the behavior changing? Does the guy work faster than what he did? So objectives are met or not. Content, people will give you feedback about content. Somebody will say this content was very basic. Somebody will say, Arey, this content was so concentrated, I couldn't get it. Like in the morning class, the newcomer batch, I had one with instructional design. So they were saying, I have never heard of this term before. What is ID? So I just thought that let me meet my batch 2 o'clock people. They'll teach them ID now, inside out. So, it was new for them. So program content, sequence, okay, this is important. Maybe it is good to put in the best or your toughest things up in the front. Always, the day one or the first half, by 12 o'clock, your main messaging should be over. Before that, more or less, people understand the flow and they create an opinion about themselves, unless you do some artificial things, like giving them prizes, doing a lot of bells and whistles. You're more or less, your feedback is set by 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It need not wait till 5 p.m. People have made up their mind whether they'll vote for the left, right, or the center. Instructional materials, are they good? Okay, what is the motivation to learn? Can you tell me this? Jyoti, what is the motivation? Why am I included this? Why does a guy come into a training?
So to learn, to get some upgradation.
Yeah. Also, the boss has sent him to. In
Yes.
Tata Steel, there was also always a guy. I used to ask him, why have you come for the training? Sir, my boss has told me to come for this training. He's giving me a straight message that I have not come voluntarily to attend your training because my boss sent, so I came. So it's important to understand why is the guy here. Okay, program relevance means after the program, that guy may not ever do the work what you intended in the training program. For example, he'll never do a negotiation, but you have given him negotiation training. Maybe in his appraisal or in his career aspiration or in his IDP, he has written that I want negotiation training, but he'll never negotiate. So in IBM, I remember one guy said, our guys are very good, but they get beaten to Accenture. Well, why do they get beaten? No, those guys are good looking. They are younger. IBM is slightly, a little uncle type guys. So can you teach them negotiation, Rahul? So we had an external trainer. We spent a lot of money. Maybe that yielded some benefit. They got a deal, but his problem statement was very clear that I have good guys, but they're not good negotiators. Pre-training material, if they value it, many a times, how many times have you seen in a physical training? Question I ask all of you. Do you find people leaving their training workbooks and going away? You have given them a training material. Okay. You told them to write your name and this is your book and all. At the end of the day, let's say it's an open program, not a company program. They're not bound to listen to you. Do you find many people they have left their stuff and went home?
Sir,
Any sir?
in
Any
a,
sir?
in an open program, usually it's not observed. People, if they're coming on their own by their own will, then they usually take the training material along with them. And if it's not provided, then they ask for it. That is there anything that you can share that we can use for reference?
Thank you so much. But in a closed program, many people, that is, they're not valuing the material. Okay. So that is one problem which we have. So your training material is important. Assignments are important. Okay, earlier assignments, when I joined industry in 84, training program was typically one-sided. One guy will speak, one will listen. Okay. Now today it's different. It's a bilingual. I mean, it's a two-way traffic. Unless the trainer receives, the training has not gone well. Methods of delivery, you could say that, we could have a blended mixture. Okay, one guy is facilitator. If the guy is a good facilitator, you can make out. If he's a mediocre facilitator, that also you can make out. That he will have he'll have a limitation. Or the facilitation, even if he is not a great, he can improvise, he can make new techniques, he can make new activities. So just look out for the facilitator, not only on the quality of the lecture delivery or whatever, by his actions, by his activities that he conducts. So you will see in a training program, there are many people who are good in the Gyan part of it. And there are many people who are good in the activity part of it. So one clever ploy, if you want a good feedback, maybe separate two people. That one guy will be the Zen master, and the other guy will do the activity. Because he's more hands-on, he'll get things done. So sometimes I have found this ploy to work. Facilities, yes, if the classroom is noisy or, too much of disturbance, then people will give a bad, they'll not give you a good feedback. And finally, you'll have an action plan. What after this training will we do? So if these things are there, these things they'll give back in your L1. So why measure training? Okay, this is, I think, a video coming up. Is it a good idea? It's now 3 o'clock. Let's watch a video. I especially brought it for you. So see the, I mean, it'll be a change of, I spoke for an hour nearly. And let's see a video. Let me just optimize it for sound so that you can see. It is known, it's not a great video, but maybe you like it. Just give me a minute while I set it up. Yeah, this was where we were. Then we go to share, share, yeah, share sound.
At the end of most training sessions, I get a survey asking me what I thought of the training. What makes for good training? How do I know if the training was good or not? Well, I can tell you if I stayed awake the whole way through, or if I learned a few new facts, if the stories were funny, if the teacher seemed very knowledgeable about their subject, if they were a good communicator. I can tell you all that. That's all great, but that's not the measure of a good training. The real question is, what will happen after the training? Now, I don't know about you, but for me, when I attend training because I want to be able to do something that I can do. So let's say before the training, there was a thing you couldn't do, like riding a bicycle or testing a metal detector or cleaning a conveyor. The real question is, 2, 3, 4 days after the training, has anything changed? Or much better yet, 2, 3, 4 months after the training, has any of that change lasted? Now, are you able to do the thing you wanted to learn? Yes or no? If you can, well, the improvement lasted. The training hit the mark. I'd call that a good training. But if you're in the exact same place you were before you started, the training couldn't have been that good, could it? An example of that would be if you don't know how to clean a piece of equipment, let's say a mixer. You go through the training and then you can either clean it properly or you can't. At the end of the day, once you're done with it, the mixer is either clean or it's not clean. It's either spotless or there's still gunk behind the agitator or crud above the butterfly valve. Here, knowledge alone doesn't count. A lot of information is not necessarily the same as a lot of useful information. If the training focuses too much on theory rather than how to get the job done, how to clean the mixer, then you might have left the training more confused than when you started. Now that's a simple example. The training either worked or it didn't. So if you are trying to decide if a training is good or not, if it served its purpose or not, look at what has changed after the training. Are you and your team working in the exact same way as you did before? Or are you able to do something better? Now, good training should have an obvious positive impact on your daily work.
Okay, any thoughts about the video? So what does a good training need to have? Bottom line of that video was?
It should be useful.
Yeah.
They should be able to apply those things in their day-to-day working.
Absolutely. So for example, you're doing a training on positivity. There should be something which the guy should be able to use. Things should change. That is what the, thank you so much. So that was a small video. I mean, it was just to sensitize that things don't remain the same before and after training. Okay. So one is, okay, now aligning, this is tip number 1. So when you speak to the C-suite, okay, to the business, whether it's a CX or whoever is the stakeholder, I think get to the point in 1 minute. Okay, that is tip 1. Tip 2 is speak about the marketplace. Now, many a times I have seen that when we go for, asking for money or asking for nominations or asking for anything which the boss can give. So we say we are having a training program, please nominate. We need some people. But the ideally, and many of us do it better. I mean, I'm not a great example, I'm a bad example. But a good example is the guy will first talk about how's business doing. Then a conversation starts. He will say, like, one of you said that now is a bad time, I think, Yogesh. Everybody in Indian Oil, they're transferring people in April. So no training up to April 15th. Now, if I go and pester, that's how I'm from ISTD. You always gave us business. Why are you so quiet now? The guy will say this is not the right time because we are doing this. I mean, not only a PSU. For a private company, the imperatives are different. So first is how is that segment doing? Let's say it's, power, energy utilities, cement, heavy industries, software. So see into the market and you will know that there's a space where you can fill in with training. So that is the best time to have a conversation with him, sell a vision before getting into details, without saying that we'll do this program on 19th and 20th of April. Say that this is what is, this can happen. There's a possibility that our people will be on top of AI. Lead with a narrative. That is what I said, that if you do this, so there'll be a consequence. Now, I'm not saying that you tell him a story uh, like Micawber's something good will turn up. So David Copperfield, there was a character called Micawber. So he always said something good will turn up. So it's not like, good days are ahead. So say with a narrative which is more or less true. And finally, do not be afraid of them. This tip I like the best. Be afraid for them. So when we speak to a C-suite, and maybe he's much higher in designation, he's a band 10 or a letter banded executive, or he's part of a Malik. He gets ESOPs and he really, I'm a much low down person in the hierarchy. I'm in HR, I'm in training. So one tip is do not be afraid of them, but be afraid for them because at that level they're insecure. They would want a ally like you. Does that make sense? And
Well,
many a time we go, yeah.
if I could not be able to understand, do not be afraid of them, but afraid for them. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Very good, Jyoti. So do not be afraid of C-suite people or people who are at the top. Okay.
Okay.
That part is clear. Do not be afraid of them because they are very high.
Yes.
Okay. The second thing is be afraid for them. Means that tomorrow, will they be able to be at the same level? Or will their business be able to rock? So feel for them and provide your training solution. Now is it clear?
Matlab, why we should be afraid for them? That's my question.
Yeah, why we should be afraid for them is because you are engaging into a dialogue. Okay, this is the video. Somebody, Ramesh. Okay, this is the video which I showed. Is this the link, Ramesh? Just a minute. Thank you. So thank you so much. Okay, why you should be afraid? Let me again go back to the slide. And now, Jeevan, Jyoti, you will understand. Look, the context here is me, Jyoti, or me, Rahul. We have gone to a big boss to talk about training. Okay. So first thing is it doesn't have too much of time. So he said, okay, I have 5 minutes. Come on, tell me what is it. So Jyoti, what is it you train upon? Let's have a role play a little bit. What is your area of training, or can you tell me a little bit about your?
So the recent one I did for crisis management in a pharmaceutical company.
So you did crisis management. Okay. So you will say to the top boss in, let's say, Pfizer or anyone. Let's say I'm just taking an example. Say I'm Jyoti, do you have a minute? They say, yeah, Jyoti, come in. So I was thinking of our people that are they ready? Because the world is changing. So the moment you talk about the marketplace, tip 2, then he starts getting interested and then say that if we don't give this safety training, crisis management training, these might be the consequences. I mean, you don't show him a black hat, but tell him this is the vision. So that is your narrative. Finally, what I'm saying is that since he's a very high up, it is not essential that I am be afraid of them. Because, in India, we have this hierarchy culture that he's a big man or a big woman. And I'm a small Chinna Swami. So be afraid for them that if they fall, how can I help them? That is the sense.
Okay.
Are we clear?
Care for them. Yeah.
So did you like now this example?
Understood. Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you so much for.
Thank you.
Very good. Till you understand, always keep asking. I also didn't understand because it's not easy to understand. But when I read it the second time, and this was from the book by a guy called Mattox. Okay, this is a good group. Jugal Kishore, raise his hand.
Uh, Mr. Bose, just wanted to understand this LNDS value. The C suit is referring to the CXOs and chief operating officers or maybe a chief
Right.
financial officers. What about this LNDS value? I can understand maybe LND
LNDS,
values could be a something, or are we saying that there is an apostrophe S or something like that?
just a minute. LNDS, LND, aligning LND's value as
Okay,
if
so
it
there is
was,
an
let's say,
apostrophe.
Jugal Kishore's value. Apostrophe is missing. Sorry about that.
No, no, no worries. Okay.
Thank you. I'll put that in. It's that LNDs. Yeah, LNDs. Sorry. So I mean, the bottom line message is that as trainers, we come as a help to the top line. And therefore, it's good to have a little marketplace knowledge. Then people start believing that here's a guy who's come here to help me. And maybe sometimes they can listen to you. Sometimes, even if they believe, their hands are also tired. But you have done your bit. You have not said, sir, this is a program I have. Please nominate me. You have said a larger, a bigger story, which the guy understands that why it is imperative that I do crisis management in pharma. Okay, this is L&D value drivers. So you can build foundational skills. Okay, it's taken from a book, didn't come too well. So L&D's value driver is mitigate risk. You can drive growth, drive top line. It's difficult to prove, but you can. And you can maximize operational efficiency. But I would say that the first two, build and maintain foundation skills and mitigate risks, are the things which can be best done by learning and training. The other two, driving growth and the top, is slightly ambitious. If the client or the climate or your organization is for it, then maybe it will click. But I'm being very modest. I have seen the dollar sign and the spanner sign. That is where training can go up to. You can avoid cost, you can avoid accidents, you can do safety training, you can do all the good things which will all be cost saving. But if I say that this training led to so much of billions of dollars of profit, that would be a difficult story to establish. And I'll come to that in the next class possibly. So now is a quiz time. Is it a good idea to have a quiz?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here goes. Let me just give me a minute. Today Gurvinder is not around. So I will just do only one thing. Quiz time. This was the quiz. It's a simple quiz, 10 questions and you are done. But let me bring the quiz up. Where is the MCQ? MCQ. Paper 9, quiz 13. Okay. So here is your quiz. Let me open it up. Question 1. A, B, C or D? Question 2. A, B, C or D? Okay. I see one response. Let me check. So G1 is right. Question B, forecasting future ends. 1 is correct. G1 is Jyoti is a live wire. She's alive. What will be the answer of 2? This is also a simple question, but you have to think a little. I mean, answer to question 2. Okay. Thank you. Bhakti says, Sairam says, fine. Okay. Ritu Pragya, thank you. Now you are waking up. I should have given you the quiz right in the beginning. Time to hire, good, great. So we go to question 3 and 4. Very well done. Ritu Pragya and people who didn't. I mean, now I'm seeing you alive. 3. Okay. 3, 4, and 5. 3 is what is the purpose of using HR analytics? You can read for yourself. Okay, let me see responses come in. Okay, Ritu Pragya and Jivan says 3B. Yes, to identify high performing, correct. Come to 4. 4 is no. 4, think a little bit. Analyze the relationship between employee engagement and employee turnover. Okay, so this is people leaving. So if people are, if people are leaving, then possibly they are not engaged. So Ramesh is the right answer is A, but it's okay. I think it's a misleading question. I think the way you thought that if people come, they're engaged. So I got your point of view, but here the classical answer is people leaving. The 5th one, let me also scroll up a little bit so that you can see it better. These were all on HR analytics. The next 5 questions will be on L&D metrics. Okay, made you think a bit. Bhakti says and Jugal says A. No, just think a little bit more. Ritu Pragya says, yeah. This would be C. Okay. For the simple reason, I'm explaining why it's C. Identify and address biases in nations. So, for example, in today also, we don't, I mean, though we say DEI, but you don't jump at a transgender and say, come into my organization. Okay. So I'm being very
That's
uh,
correct, sir. That's correct.
yeah, I'm being very bang on. So it will help you in decreasing the bias. And there may be companies which would welcome. So automating HR, all this is good. All your answers are correct, but between the 4, the third one possibly is the most correct one because you are showing up. Thank you so much. Now I go to the 6th question. These are easy questions. It's your cakewalk for you. What is the primary purpose of measuring training effectiveness? Okay, let me answer 6. 5 says C. Okay, 6 is B. Yes. To determine whether objectives were met. Simple. First thing is whether you met your objective. Now 7. Which of the following models? Okay, this is also very easy. And you said it already. Okay, before I had started because maybe somebody else already. So Kirkpatrick. And 8. 8 is, Bhakti says C. Yeah. Thank you, Bhakti. Great one. So the rest are all qualitative things. Somebody gives a comment, somebody gives an opinion, but sales figures, excellent. Yugal Kishore, it's C. Final 2 questions and we are done. Final 2 questions. Let me put it up. Okay, these are also simple questions for you. So Jugal Kishore says C. Yes. Knowledge of skills gained. And what is the key challenge in measuring training effectiveness? Okay. This is a good question. No, this is a little thinking question. Just think a little, Jugal Kishore, you will get it. Yes. It is difficulty to isolate because, as I said, something has been very good. Okay, sales has increased. So marketing will take the credit. I did great advertisement, so sales went up. You said, no, I also did great sellers training, so it went up. I did better than you. Okay. So it's always very difficult to isolate that training has been the leading impact in your saving. Okay. Did you enjoy the quiz?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So I leave you with this and thank you so much for attending. Today is a little light class, didn't stretch till the last, but all of
Yes,
you are
sir.
now ready. Any questions you have?
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for today and we'll get back next Sunday. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.